Ex-husband invited his barren ex-wife to his second wedding to mock her until her triplets walked down the aisle as his ring bearers. The wedding march had stopped. The officiant had stopped speaking mid-sentence, and at the altar, Trevor Calloway stood in his $1,000 tuxedo, his face drained, of all color, staring at the children approaching him like they were ghosts come to life. The lead boy, no more than 6 years old, carried a small white pillow. On top of it sat 2 plain gold wedding bands that caught the afternoon light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. His 2 brothers walked on either side of him, their steps synchronized, their young faces serious and determined. They reached the altar steps and stopped directly in front of Trevor. The boy with the pillow looked up at the man he had never met, the man whose eyes he had inherited, and spoke in a voice that rang clear through the stunned silence. "Dad, you left these rings at Mom's house. She said you might need them today." The room exploded. Gasps erupted from every corner. A woman in the 3rd row screamed. Phones came out immediately, cameras already recording. The bride, Felicity Harding, stumbled backward in her $15,000 wedding dress, her hand flying to her mouth, her eyes wide with confusion and dawning horror. "What?" Her voice cracked. "Trevor, who are these children?" Trevor opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His best man grabbed his shoulder, shaking him slightly. "Mark, who are these kids? Did you arrange this? What the hell is happening?" From the back of the room, a woman's voice cut through the chaos. Calm, clear, steady as a drumbeat. "Actually, I can answer that." Every head in the room turned as one. There, walking down the same aisle the boys had just traveled, came a woman in a simple blue dress. She was not dressed like the other guests in their designer gowns and expensive suits. Her hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her shoes were discount store flats. But she walked with her head high and her shoulders back, and when she reached the altar and placed her hands on the boy's shoulders, she looked directly at Trevor with eyes that held no fear, no hesitation, only the calm certainty of someone who had finally stopped running from the truth. "These are Owen, Lucas, and Felix," Paige Brennan said. "They are 6 years old. They are your sons, Trevor, and I am done pretending they do not exist. Now, let me tell you how we got here. 3 weeks earlier, the invitation had arrived on a Thursday afternoon. Paige stood in the cramped kitchenette of her Queens apartment, still wearing her work clothes, a coffee mug cooling in her hand. The envelope was expensive. Cream-colored cardstock, the kind that cost $3 per sheet at specialty stationery stores. Her name and address were written in elegant calligraphy. For a moment she just stared at it, this beautiful thing so out of place, among the pile of bills and grocery store circulars on her tiny counter. She set down her coffee and opened it carefully. The invitation itself was even more elaborate than the envelope. Embossed gold lettering, a small silk ribbon. She read the words once, then again, certain she must be misunderstanding. "You are cordially invited to celebrate the marriage of Trevor Calloway and Felicity Harding. Saturday, June 15th, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Plaza Hotel, terrace room. Reception to follow." Below the printed text, in handwriting she would recognize anywhere, was a personal note. "Paige, I know this might seem strange, but Felicity insisted we invite you. We have both moved on. I hope you can be happy for me. Besides, you always loved the plaza. Come enjoy it one last time. Trevor." Her hand started to shake. The paper trembled between her fingers. She read the note 3 more times, each word landing like a small, precise cut. The casual cruelty of it. The assumption that she had moved on. The reminder of the plaza, a place she had been exactly once, 7 years ago, when Trevor took her there for their anniversary and promised that someday, when they renewed their vows, they would do it somewhere grand like this. That promise died when the marriage did, but it was the phrase, "come enjoy it one last time," that made her jaw clench. As if she could afford to enjoy places like the plaza now. As if her life was filled with opportunities to attend events at hotels, where a single night's stay cost more than her monthly rent. "Mommy, why do you look sad?" She turned to find Owen standing in the doorway, her oldest son by 4 minutes. He had Trevor's brown eyes, and that same way of tilting his head when he was trying to figure something out. Behind him, Lucas and Felix tumbled into view, chasing each other with toy airplanes, their laughter filling the small space. "I am not sad, sweetheart," Paige said, folding the invitation and slipping it into her pocket. "Just surprised. Go wash up for dinner." The boys scattered, their footsteps thundering through the apartment. Paige stood alone in the kitchen, one hand pressed against the counter to steady herself. She had not seen Trevor in person in over 6 years, had not spoken to him in just as long. The last time she tried, she was 3 months pregnant, terrified and desperate, calling from a clinic bathroom with a positive pregnancy test in her shaking hands. She could still remember every word of that phone call. "Trevor, please do not hang up. I need to tell you something." His sigh had been loud and irritated. "Paige, we are divorced. Whatever this is, tell your lawyer. I am pregnant." A pause, then laughter. Actual laughter, sharp and disbelieving. "Nice try. I am serious. I just took the test. I am 12 weeks along. Paige, we both know that is impossible. Do not embarrass yourself with this. Why would I lie? Trevor, please, I do not know what to do. I do not have anyone else to call." His voice had turned cold then, colder than she had ever heard it. "Listen to me very carefully. If you contact me again with this ridiculous story, I will have my lawyer file for a restraining order. You are harassing me. Stop. Trevor, please." The line went dead. She called back twice. He blocked her number. She sent a certified letter to his office. It was returned unopened, with a note from his attorney threatening legal action if she persisted in fabricating a pregnancy to extort money from him. After that, she stopped trying. What was the point? He had decided she was lying, and nothing she said would change his mind. 6 months later, she gave birth to triplets. 3 identical boys, born 4 weeks early, each weighing just over 5 pounds. She labored for 17 hours in a public hospital with no one beside her but a rotating cast of nurses. When they finally placed Owen, Lucas, and Felix on her chest, she cried so hard she could barely breathe. Not from pain, not from fear, from the overwhelming, crushing, beautiful weight of loving 3 people. She had just met more than she had ever loved anyone in her life. That was 6 years ago. 6 years of doing it alone. 6 years of working 2 jobs, then 3, then back to 2, when she finally got promoted. 6 years of saying no when the boys asked for things she could not afford. 6 years of stretching every dollar, every meal, every moment of energy she had. 6 years of watching other children get picked up from school by fathers who existed, while her sons asked questions she did not know how to answer. Why do not we have a dad? You do have a father, baby. He just is not part of our lives right now. Why not? Because he made a choice not to be. Did we do something wrong? No. God, no. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. This is not about you. But it felt like a lie every time she said it. Because in a way, it was about them. Trevor left because he did not want the complication of children. When she got pregnant anyway, he simply decided they did not exist. And that decision had shaped every single day of their lives since. After the boys were asleep that night, Paige sat at her kitchen table with her laptop open. She had not looked at Trevor's social media in over a year. It hurt too much. But now, with the invitation still burning in her pocket, she could not stop herself. His Facebook page loaded. The first thing she saw was his profile picture. Trevor and a blonde woman, both smiling at the camera, his arm around her shoulders. They were standing on a beach somewhere tropical. The sun was setting behind them. They looked happy. They looked like people whose biggest concern was whether to have fish or steak for dinner. Paige scrolled, post after post of a life she barely recognized. Expensive restaurants, weekend trips to Martha's Vineyard, a new Tesla, photos from a company retreat in Colorado, and woven through all of it, casual references to his difficult past, his heartbreak, his struggle with infertility that ended his first marriage. That last part made her hands curl into fists. She clicked on Felicity's profile. The woman was beautiful in that polished, professional way. Perfect makeup, perfect hair, perfect outfits. A pharmaceutical executive, according to her bio. Her posts were a mix of work achievements, travel photos, and loving tributes to Trevor. One post from 3 months ago showed Felicity's hand extended toward the camera, an enormous diamond ring glittering on her finger. The caption read, "He waited so long for the right woman to build a family with. I cannot wait to give him everything he has dreamed of." The comments were full of congratulations. Friends saying Trevor deserved this after everything he had been through. Family members saying they were so happy he finally found someone who could give him children. Someone even wrote, after all those years with a wife who could not get pregnant, he deserves this second chance at fatherhood. Paige closed the laptop before she threw it across the room. The lie had calcified into truth. Trevor had told so many people, so many times, that she was infertile, that their marriage ended because her body was broken, that it had become accepted fact. No one questioned it. No one doubted him. Why would they? He was successful, charming, likable, and she had disappeared after the divorce, too broken and afraid to fight back. Her silence had allowed his lies to flourish. She opened the laptop again. This time, she pulled up the photos on her phone and scrolled through them. Owen's first day of kindergarten. Lucas covered in paint from art class. Felix's gap-toothed smile after losing his first tooth. Birthdays, holidays, beach trips to Coney Island, the cheap, beautiful, exhausting life they had built together. These boys existed. They were real. They had Trevor's eyes, his smile, his stubborn chin. They were 6 years old, and they had never met their father. Not because Paige kept them from him, not because she was bitter or vengeful, but because Trevor had decided, before they were even born, that they were inconvenient, and so he erased them. Paige sat at that table for 2 hours, the apartment dark around her, the only light coming from her laptop screen. She thought about the invitation. She thought about Trevor standing at an altar in the Plaza Hotel, marrying a woman he had probably told the same lies he told everyone else. She thought about Felicity, who seemed kind in her photos, who had no idea she was, building a life with a man who already had 3 children he refused to acknowledge. And she thought about Owen, Lucas, and Felix, asleep in the next room, who deserved to exist in the world without shame, who deserved to have their father admit they were real. That was when Paige made her decision. She was going to that wedding, and she was bringing her sons. The next evening, Paige met her best friend Raina at a coffee shop in Brooklyn. The boys were at Raina's mother's house, probably eating too much ice cream and staying up past their bedtime. Paige slid the invitation across the table. Raina picked it up, read it, and her eyes went wide. "Are you kidding me?" She looked up at Paige. "He invited you to his wedding?" Apparently, Raina read the handwritten note. Her expression darkened. "This is sick, Paige. This is him rubbing your face in his new life. He wants you to see everything you supposedly could not give him. I know. So you are obviously not going." Paige took a sip of her coffee. "Actually, I am going, and I am bringing the boys." Raina set down the invitation like it had burned her. "Absolutely not. Paige, you cannot do that." "Why not?" "Because." Raina leaned forward, her voice urgent. "Because it will traumatize them. Because Trevor might have you arrested. Because you could humiliate yourself in front of hundreds of people, and it will not change anything." "It will change one thing," Paige said quietly. "People will know the truth." "At what cost?" "I have been protecting his lies for 6 years, Raina. 6 years of letting people think I am broken. 6 years of keeping my sons hidden because I was too scared to fight back. I am done. There are other ways to handle this. You could hire a lawyer. You could post on social media. You could confront him privately." I tried confronting him privately. He threatened me with a restraining order. Then take him to court. Sue for child support. Make it legal. And while that drags on for months, maybe years, he gets to keep living his perfect lie. He gets to marry Felicity and promise her children while pretending mine do not exist. Paige shook her head. "No. He told 200 people I was infertile. Those same 200 people deserve to know he lied." Raina sat back, studying her friend's face. "Paige, I have known you for 10 years. I have never seen you like this." "Like what?" "Angry." Paige smiled, but there was no humor in it. "I have been angry for 6 years. I just hid it under exhaustion. What if this backfires? What if people blame you? What if Trevor turns it around somehow? Then at least my sons will know I tried. They will know I stood up and said they mattered, that they were real, that they deserved to be acknowledged." Raina reached across the table and took Paige's hand. "Okay, if you are really doing this, tell me the plan." Paige pulled out her phone and showed Raina a photo she had taken that morning. It was a picture of 2 plain gold rings sitting on a white velvet pillow. The rings from her marriage to Trevor, the ones he had given back through his lawyer when he filed for divorce. "The boys are going to walk down the aisle during the ceremony," Paige said. "Owen will carry these rings on a pillow. When they reach Trevor, Owen will say, "Dad, you left these rings at Mom's house. She said you might need them today." Raina's eyes widened. Oh my God. It is simple, factual, impossible to deny. And everyone will see it happen. This is going to destroy his wedding. Good. He tried to destroy my life. Raina was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. Okay, what do you need from me? Help me find suits for the boys. And, maybe, Paige hesitated, maybe be there that day? In case I lose my nerve. Raina squeezed her hand. I will be there. And Paige? For what it is worth, I think you are doing the right thing. Those boys deserve better than being someone's dirty secret. That night, after Paige picked up the boys and brought them home, she made dinner while they did homework at the kitchen table. Owen practiced writing sentences. Lucas drew pictures of animals. Felix worked on counting exercises, his tongue sticking out in concentration. They were so small still, so innocent. They had no idea that their entire world was about to shift. After dinner, after baths, after story time, Paige sat on the edge of the bed they all shared. The apartment only had 2 bedrooms. Paige slept in one. The boys shared the other, in a set of bunk beds Paige had found at a thrift store and repainted herself. Owen slept on top. Lucas and Felix shared the bottom bunk, usually tangled together like puppies. Guys, I need to talk to you about something important, Paige said. 3 pairs of brown eyes looked at her. Owen sat up straighter, already sensing this was serious. Lucas set down his stuffed elephant. Felix scooted closer to his mother. You know how I have told you that your father made a choice not to be part of your lives? They nodded. Well, your father is getting married in 3 weeks. To a woman named Felicity. Christopher's face scrunched up in confusion. Is she going to be our mom? No, baby. I am your mom. She would be your stepmother if your father was part of your lives. But he is not. Why is he getting married if he does not want us? Lucas asked quietly. Because grown-ups make complicated choices that do not always make sense. Paige took a breath. Here is the thing. Your father invited me to his wedding. That is weird. Owen said. It is very weird, and I am thinking about going. But not alone. I want you 3 to come with me. The boys looked at each other in that silent way they had, communicating without words. Why? Owen asked. Because your father told a lot of people that I could not have babies, that our marriage ended because my body was broken. But that is not true. We are babies. Felix said. You were babies. Now you are big boys. And you are real. You exist. But a lot of people do not know about you because your father never told them. Why not? Lucas asked. Paige struggled to find the right words. Because he was scared. Or selfish. Or both. The reasons do not matter as much as what happened. He lied, and I let him lie because I did not know how to fight back. But I am tired of hiding you. You 3 are the best thing that ever happened to me, and I do not want to pretend anymore that you do not exist. So we are going to the wedding to show people we are real? Owen asked. Exactly. What do we have to do? Paige explained the plan. The boys would wear fancy suits. They would wait outside until the ceremony started. Then, at a specific moment, they would walk down the aisle together. Owen would carry a small pillow with rings on it. When they reached the front, Owen would say one sentence to Trevor. That was it. What sentence? Owen asked. Dad, you left these rings at Mom's house. She said you might need them today. Owen repeated it slowly. Dad, you left these rings at Mom's house. She said you might need them today. Perfect. But the rings are not from his house, Felix pointed out. They are from your drawer. I know, baby. But the sentence makes people understand that these are wedding rings from when your father was married to me. It makes them ask questions. Will Daddy be happy to see us? Lucas asked. The question broke Paige's heart. She wanted to lie. Wanted to say yes, of course, he will be thrilled. But she had promised herself she would always tell her sons the truth. No, sweetheart, I do not think he will be happy. I think he will be very surprised and probably upset. There might be yelling. There might be people getting angry. But none of that is your fault. You are not doing anything wrong. You are just telling the truth. Will you want to be our dad after? Felix asked. I do not know. Paige admitted. Maybe, maybe not. But at least people will know you exist. At least you will not be a secret anymore. The boys were quiet. Owen, always the most analytical, spoke first. I want to do it. I want people to know we are real. Lucas nodded. Me too. Felix looked uncertain. What if we get scared? Then we hold hands, Paige said. And you remember that I will be right there. I will walk down the aisle behind you. If anything happens, if you want to leave, we leave. You are safe, I promise. Okay, Felix said. I will do it. Paige hugged all three of them tightly. You are the bravest boys in the world. Over the next week, Paige and Raina took the boys to a formal wear shop in Manhattan. The store was small but well stocked, with suits in every size imaginable. A kind woman in her 50s greeted them. What is the occasion? She asked, smiling at the triplets. A wedding, Paige said. How lovely. Let me see what we have for these handsome young men. She brought out several options. The boys tried on different suits, giggling at how fancy they looked. Eventually they settled on matching navy suits with crisp white shirts and burgundy ties. The woman helped adjust the sizing, marking spots for alterations. You boys are going to be the most handsome guests at this wedding, she said. Owen looked at his reflection in the mirror. We are not guests. We are ring bearers. Well then, you will be the most handsome ring bearers anyone has ever seen. When the woman calculated the total, Paige felt her stomach drop. Even with alterations, the 3 suits cost $400. She had been saving for an emergency fund, slowly building it up over months. This would wipe it out entirely. Raina must have seen her face because she stepped forward. I have got this. No, Paige said immediately. Raina, you have already done so much. This is important. Let me help. I cannot ask you to. You are not asking. I am offering. Paige felt tears prick her eyes. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Raina paid for the suits. They would be ready in 1 week. On the way home, the boys chattered excitedly about their fancy clothes. Paige held their hands and tried not to think about how much money she was spending on this plan. The suits, a dress for herself, subway fare into Manhattan. It was all money she did not really have. But every time doubt crept in, she thought about Owen asking why other kids had dads who picked them up from school. She thought about Lucas getting quiet whenever family came up in conversation. She thought about Felix building elaborate fantasies about a father who would someday appear and take them to baseball games. They deserved better than fantasies. They deserved a truth. Paige also did something she had been putting off for years. She hired a lawyer. Patricia Yoon's office was in Cambridge, in a small building that also housed a dentist and an accountant. The waiting room had worn furniture and children's toys scattered in one corner. Paige sat with her folder of documents, her leg bouncing nervously. Miss Brennan? A woman appeared in the doorway, mid-40s, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a bun. I am Patricia Yoon. Come on back. The office was small, but organized. Law books lined the shelves. A framed degree from Boston University hung on the wall. Patricia sat behind her desk and gestured for Paige to sit across from her. Tell me what is going on. Paige explained everything. The marriage, the divorce, the pregnancy, Trevor's refusal to believe her, the 6 years of silence, the invitation to the wedding, her plan to attend with the boys. Patricia listened without interrupting. When Paige finished, the lawyer sat back in her chair. Miss Brennan, do you have documentation of any of this? Paige opened her folder. Birth certificates listing Trevor as the father, hospital records from the delivery, genetic testing she had done when the boys were 2, just in case she ever needed proof, phone records showing her attempts to call Trevor, copies of the certified letters she sent that were returned unopened, screenshots of the threatening emails from Trevor's lawyer. Patricia reviewed each document carefully. When she looked up, her expression was angry. This is unconscionable. You are entitled to child support. 6 years of back payments plus ongoing support. We are talking about a significant amount of money. How much? Patricia did some quick calculations. Conservatively, $200,000 in back support, plus $1,500 per child per month going forward. Paige felt lightheaded. That much? He abandoned 3 children, Patricia said flatly. He does not get to walk away without consequences. He threatened me. If I try to pursue this legally, he has lawyers. He has money. I have nothing. You have evidence. You have documentation. You have the truth. Patricia leaned forward. Here is what I recommend. Go to the wedding. Do what you are planning to do. Make it public. Make it impossible for him to deny. Then, the next day, you call me. We file everything. Child support, back payments, custody arrangements, all of it. Once it is public, he cannot threaten you anymore. The leverage shifts to you. What if he still fights it? Let him. We have genetic testing. We have birth certificates. We have a paper trail of him refusing to acknowledge his own children. No judge will side with him. Paige felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. Hope, how much do you charge? Patricia named a rate that made Paige wince. Then the lawyer smiled. But I will take your case pro bono. This is exactly the kind of situation that makes me furious. Men who abandon their children and face no consequences. Let me help you change that. Paige could not hold back her tears anymore. Thank you. God, thank you. Just promise me one thing. Patricia said, after this wedding, after it all becomes public, do not back down. Trevor will try to make deals. He will try to intimidate you. Do not let him. You have spent 6 years protecting his lies. It is time he faced the truth. The week before the wedding, Paige barely slept. She ran through the plan obsessively. What time they would leave. What train they would take. Where they would wait before the ceremony. What Owen would say. She practiced with the boys every evening, making sure they knew exactly what to do. Owen was a natural. He practiced his line until it sounded casual, unrehearsed. Dad, you left these rings at Mom's house. She said you might need them today. Over and over. Each time, with a little more confidence. Lucas worried about everything. What if we trip? What if I forget what to do? What if Daddy yells at us? Paige reassured him each time. You will not trip. I will be right behind you. If anything bad happens, we leave immediately. Felix treated the whole thing like an adventure. He was excited to wear his fancy suit, excited to see the Plaza Hotel, excited to finally meet the father he had only seen in old photographs. 3 days before the wedding, Paige's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? Paige? It is Catherine. Paige froze. Catherine Calloway, Trevor's mother. She had not spoken to this woman since the divorce. Catherine, please, just listen. I know Trevor invited you to the wedding. I wanted to call and tell you that you do not have to come. I know it must be painful. I know things ended badly between you two. Paige closed her eyes. Catherine had always been kind to her. Warm, welcoming. After the divorce, Paige assumed Catherine believed Trevor's version of events. Apparently, she was right. I know he told you I was infertile, Paige said quietly. A pause. He did. Catherine's voice was gentle. I am so sorry, Paige. I know how much you wanted children. I was not infertile, Catherine. What? I got pregnant 2 months after he left me. I called him. I told him. He did not believe me. The silence on the other end stretched so long that Paige thought the call had dropped. Catherine. When Catherine spoke again, her voice was shaking. You are saying you have a child. 3 children. Triplets. Boys. They are 6 years old. Paige heard a sharp intake of breath. And Trevor knows? I told him. He called me a liar. He threatened legal action if I contacted him again. So I stopped trying. Oh my God. Catherine sounded like she was crying. Oh my God, Paige. 3 children? Yes. And you have been raising them alone this whole time? Yes. Why did you not come to us? Richard and I would have helped. We would have. I was scared. Trevor made it very clear that if I pursued anything, he would destroy me. He has money, lawyers, connections. I had nothing. Catherine was definitely crying now. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Does he support them at all? No. 6 years, and he has paid nothing? Nothing. Paige, this is... Catherine struggled for words. This is monstrous. How could he do this? How could he abandon his own children? I do not know. Can I meet them? Please, Paige. They are my grandchildren. Can I meet them? Paige hesitated. You will meet them on Saturday. At the wedding. You are coming? Yes. And I am bringing the boys. Catherine was quiet for a moment. Does Trevor know they are coming? No. Paige, what are you planning? I am planning to stop protecting his lies. The call ended shortly after, Paige sat in her kitchen, her phone still in her hand, wondering if she had just made a terrible mistake. What if Catherine warned Trevor? What if security was waiting at the plaza to turn them away? But when she checked her phone an hour later, there was a text from Catherine. "I will not tell him. You are doing the right thing. Those boys deserve to be acknowledged. I will see you Saturday." The night before the wedding, Paige gave the boys an early dinner and got them ready for bed. They were too excited to sleep, bouncing around the apartment in their pajamas. "Tomorrow, we get to wear our fancy suits," Felix announced. "And we get to see the big hotel," Lucas added. Owen was quieter. He sat on the edge of the bed, watching his mother fold their clothes for the next day. "Mommy," he said, "what if Daddy does not like us?" Paige sat down next to him. "Oh, baby, this is not about whether he likes you. This is about him acknowledging that you exist. That is the first step. Everything else comes after. But what if he gets mad? Then he gets mad, but you will still have done the right thing. And you will still have me, and Lucas, and Felix. We are a family no matter what happens tomorrow." Owen leaned against her. "I'm a little scared." "Me too. Really. But being brave does not mean you are not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared." The boys finally fell asleep around 9. Paige stayed up, pacing her small apartment, second-guessing everything. What was she doing? Was this revenge disguised as justice? Was she using her children to punish Trevor? Was she about to traumatize 3 innocent boys just to make a point? But then she thought about Felicity's Facebook post. "I cannot wait to give him everything he has dreamed of." She thought about the comments congratulating Trevor for finally getting his chance at fatherhood. She thought about the 200 guests who would be at that wedding, all of them believing. Trevor's lie about her broken body, her failed marriage, her inadequacy as a woman. The truth deserved to be told. Her sons deserved to exist without shame. And Trevor deserved to face the consequences of his choices. Paige set her alarm for 6 in the morning and tried to sleep. Saturday dawned bright and sunny. Perfect wedding weather. Paige woke before her alarm, her heart already racing. She made breakfast for the boys, though none of them ate much. Too nervous, too excited, too aware that today was different. She helped them into their suits, buttoning shirts, adjusting ties, smoothing down hair. They looked so handsome it made her chest ache. So small and brave in their navy jackets and crisp white shirts. "You look like princes," she told them. She changed into her own dress. Simple blue, bought on clearance from a discount store. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would compete with the elegant guests she knew would be there. She pulled her hair back, put on minimal makeup, and looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back looked tired. Scared. Determined. "Okay," she said to her reflection. "Let us do this." They left the apartment at noon. The wedding started at 2, but Paige wanted plenty of time to get into Manhattan, find the plaza, and prepare the boys. They took the subway, the boys quiet now, holding hands, their fancy shoes tapping against the train floor. Grand Army Plaza Station. They climbed the stairs and emerged onto 5th Avenue. And there it was, the Plaza Hotel. Massive, elegant, impossibly grand with its French Renaissance architecture and flags fluttering above the entrance. "Wow," Felix breathed. "It is like a castle," Lucas whispered. Owen said nothing, but his eyes were wide. They walked closer. Paige could see guests beginning to arrive. Women in designer dresses, men in expensive suits, luxury cars pulling up to the entrance, doormen in uniform helping people out. This was Trevor's world now. This level of wealth and status and ease. Paige led the boys to a small park across the street. They sat on a bench. She had the white pillow in her bag, carefully wrapped. The 2 gold rings were in a small box in her pocket. They would wait here until closer to 2 o'clock. Then they would cross the street, enter the hotel, find the terrace room, and change everything. If you have ever felt invisible, erased, or rewritten in someone else's story, this one is for you. Hit that subscribe button, because what happens when these 3 boys walk through those plaza doors proves that truth does not just set you free. It burns down every lie built to bury you. And drop a comment telling me, have you ever been lied about by someone you trusted? Let us talk about it. At 1:30, Raina appeared. She had been waiting near the hotel entrance, watching for them. She crossed the street and sat down on the bench. "You came," Paige said. Of course I came. Raina looked at the boys. You three look so handsome. Thank you, Miss Raina, Owen said politely. Are you ready? Paige took a shaky breath. No. But we are doing it anyway. At 1:45, they crossed Fifth Avenue. The doorman held the door without question. Inside, the plaza lobby was even more magnificent than Paige remembered. Soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, marble floors that gleamed. Guests moved through the space like they belonged there, comfortable in their wealth. Paige felt completely out of place, but she kept walking, the boys close beside her, following the signs to the terrace room. They reached the entrance. A young man with a clipboard stood there, checking names. Names, please, he asked. Paige Brennan, +3. He scanned his list. Found her name. His eyes flicked to the boys with confusion. Clearly only one guest was listed, but he nodded them through anyway. The terrace room took Paige's breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, white roses and orchids everywhere. Cream-colored chairs arranged in perfect rows. About 200 guests already seated. An orchestra tuning instruments. And at the front, beneath an arch covered in flowers, stood Trevor. Paige's heart stopped. He looked older. His hairline had receded slightly, but he still had that same confident posture, that easy smile. He was talking to his best man, laughing at something. He looked happy, relaxed, like a man with nothing to hide. Paige guided the boys to seats in the very last row, tucked in the corner. From here, they could see everything, but would not be noticed. She sat down, her hands shaking. Owen sat beside her, holding the white pillow now. Lucas and Felix flanked them. The orchestra began playing. Guests quieted. Everyone stood as the processional started. 6 bridesmaids in champagne-colored gowns walked down the aisle one by one. Then, the music changed. Pachelbel's canon. Everyone turned to look at the back of the room. Felicity appeared in the doorway. She was stunning. Her dress was a masterpiece of lace and silk. Her veil was delicate, antique-looking. She walked alone, her chin high, a radiant smile on her face. She looked like a woman deeply in love, about to marry the man of her dreams. Paige felt an unexpected stab of sympathy. Felicity had no idea. She thought she was marrying an honest man. She thought she knew his history, his struggles, his truth. She had no idea it was all built on lies. Felicity reached the altar. Trevor took her hands. Even from the back row, Paige could see tears in his eyes. The officiant, a silver-haired woman in elegant robes, smiled at the assembled guests. Please be seated. Everyone sat. The room fell silent, except for the soft rustle of expensive fabric. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of 2 souls who have found in each other the promise of forever. Marriage is built on truth, on the foundation of honesty between partners. Trevor and Felicity come before us today with open hearts, ready to build a life of transparency and trust. Paige almost laughed at the irony. Truth, honesty, transparency. Trevor knew nothing about those things. The officiant continued. Marriage is not just about happy moments. It is also about being truthful with each other. It is about facing difficult truths together. It is about building a life based on real foundations, not false ones. Trevor shifted his weight slightly. Felicity squeezed his hands, smiling. Now, Trevor is asked to say a few words before we proceed with the vows. This was not standard. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Paige's stomach tightened. What was he doing? Trevor stepped forward, still holding Felicity's hand. When he spoke, his voice carried easily through the room, warm and emotional. I know this is unconventional, but I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge how grateful I am to be here. Many of you know my first marriage ended because we could not have children. Paige's fingernails dug into her palms. That loss nearly destroyed me. I thought I would never get the chance to be a father. I thought that dream was dead. Some guests dabbed at their eyes. A woman in the 3rd row sniffled. But Felicity showed me that sometimes our greatest dreams come true when we least expect them. She gave me hope again. She promised me the family I have always wanted. He turned to Felicity, his voice breaking artfully. You have healed parts of me I thought were broken forever. More tears from the guests. Paige felt rage rising in her throat like bile. I also want to acknowledge someone here today. Trevor continued, and Paige went cold. My ex-wife Paige is in attendance. 200 heads turned. 200 pairs of eyes found her in the back row. Paige kept her face neutral, her hands on Owen's shoulders. "Paige," Trevor said, his voice dripping with false compassion. "I know our marriage did not end the way either of us hoped. I know the infertility was hard on both of us. But I hope you can find peace knowing that even though we could not make it work, I have found happiness. I hope you find yours too. The condescension, the public pity, the absolute gall of it." Felicity looked uncomfortable, clearly unaware Trevor had planned this little speech. The officiant cleared her throat. "That was lovely. Shall we proceed with the—" "Actually," Paige heard herself say, her voice clear and strong, "I have something to contribute." The room fell silent. Trevor's smile froze. Felicity turned, confused. Paige looked down at her sons. "Boys?" Owen stood first, holding the white pillow carefully with both hands. The 2 gold rings sat on top, glinting in the afternoon light. Lucas and Felix flanked him immediately, moving to stand on either side of their brother. And then, in perfect silence, with 200 people watching, the 3 of them stepped into the aisle and began walking toward the altar where their father stood. "Before we continue, I need to know, are you Team Paige? Because what she is about to do will divide everyone at that wedding. Some will call it revenge. Others will call it justice. Smash that like button if you think Trevor deserves what is coming, and drop a comment. Is Paige right to expose him publicly, or should she handle this privately? I want to hear your thoughts." The sound of their footsteps was the only thing breaking the silence. 3 pairs of small dress shoes clicking against the marble floor in perfect rhythm. Owen in front, his small hands gripping the white pillow, his face serious and focused. Lucas on his left, his eyes wide but determined. Felix on his right, his chin lifted in that brave way children have when they are terrified but refusing to show it. Every single person in the terrace room turned to watch them. The movement was like a wave, heads swiveling in unison, necks craning. To see these 3 identical boys who had appeared from nowhere, the whispers started immediately, overlapping, building. Who are those children? Why are they interrupting the ceremony? Are they part of the wedding? Nobody said anything about ring bearers. The boys kept walking. Past the back rows where elderly relatives sat clutching their pearls. Past the middle section where Trevor's business associates were already pulling out their phones. Past the front rows where family members sat frozen in confusion. Closer and closer to the altar where Trevor stood, his face draining of all color with each step they took. Paige followed behind them, maintaining a steady pace about 10 feet back. Her heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her throat, in her temples, in her fingertips. But her steps did not falter. She kept her eyes on her sons, ready to rush forward if they needed her, ready to pull them back if anything went wrong. Felicity had stepped backward, one hand pressed to her chest, staring at the approaching children with total bewilderment. Her bridesmaids clustered behind her, equally confused. The officiant had frozen mid-sentence, her mouth still open, her prepared remarks forgotten. Trevor's best man leaned close to him and hissed something Paige could not hear. Trevor shook his head mutely. His hands had fallen to his sides. His whole body had gone rigid. The boys reached the altar steps. They stopped in perfect unison, lined up in front of Trevor like soldiers reporting for duty. The resemblance was unmistakable now. Anyone looking could see it. The same dark brown eyes, the same shape of the face, the same stubborn set of the jaw. These were not random children. These were Trevor's children. Owen looked up at the father he had never met, the man whose photo Paige kept in a drawer, whose name the boys had asked about 1,000 times, whose absence had shaped every day of their lives. For a moment, Owen just stared, taking him in. Then he spoke. His voice was clear and strong, loud enough for every person in that massive room to hear. "Dad, you left these rings at Mom's house. She said you might need them today." The words echoed in the silence. Then the room exploded. 200 people gasped at exactly the same time. The sound was enormous, a collective intake of breath that seemed to suck the air out of the space. Then, the voices erupted, everyone talking at once, a chaos of shock and confusion and disbelief. What did he just say? Did that child call him Dad? Those cannot be his children. Trevor's first wife was infertile. This has to be some kind of mistake. Oh my God, look at them. They look exactly like him. Felicity stumbled backward, her hand flying to her mouth. Her face had gone white beneath her professional makeup. She looked at Trevor, then at the boys, then back at Trevor. "What?" Her voice was barely audible over the chaos. "Trevor, who are these children?" Trevor's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Sweat had broken out across his forehead, visible even from where Paige stood. His hands were shaking. His best man grabbed his shoulder, shaking him slightly. "Mark, say something. Who are these kids? Did you know about—" Trevor's voice cracked. "I did not. She never—" I thought. Felicity's voice rose, cutting through his stammering. "Trevor, answer me. Who are these children?" The guests were standing now, pushing forward, trying to see better. Phones were out everywhere. At least 30 people were recording. The flashes from cameras lit up the room like lightning. That was when Paige reached the altar. She placed her hands on Owen's shoulders, then pulled Lucas and Felix close to her. The 4 of them stood together, facing Trevor and Felicity and 200 shocked guests. Paige spoke calmly, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. "Felicity, I am sorry you are learning this way. These are Owen, Lucas, and Felix. They are 6 years old. They are Trevor's sons. That is impossible." Someone shouted from the crowd. A man in an expensive suit, one of Trevor's business partners. Trevor's first wife was infertile. Everyone knows that. Paige turned to look at him. "No, I was not. I was never infertile. That is what Trevor told people, but it was a lie." The room erupted again. Louder this time. Guests talking over each other, voices rising in pitch and volume. "This is insane. She is clearly lying for attention. Look at those boys. They are identical to him. Why would she bring children to a wedding? This is a setup. It has to be." Felicity's hands were shaking so badly her bouquet was trembling, white roses quivering. She looked at Trevor with an expression that was breaking in real time, love and trust crumbling into confusion and horror. "Trevor," her voice was barely a whisper, "tell me this is not true. Tell me she is lying." Trevor ran a hand through his hair, his careful composure completely shattered. "Felicity, I swear I did not know. She told me she was pregnant years ago, but I thought she was lying. I thought it was impossible. I had no idea." "So you did know?" Felicity's voice was getting stronger, anger replacing shock. "She told you she was pregnant and you called her a liar? She was trying to manipulate me. We were already divorced. She wanted money. I wanted you to acknowledge your children." Paige interrupted, her voice cutting through his excuses like a knife. "I called you when I was 12 weeks pregnant. You laughed at me. You told me I was embarrassing myself. You had your lawyer send me threatening letters telling me to stop harassing you with fabricated claims. That is not—" Trevor started. "I have the phone records," Paige said. "I have the certified letters you returned unopened. I have the emails from your attorney threatening me with a restraining order if I contacted you again. I have all of it." A woman in the front row stood up abruptly. She was older, maybe late 60s, with perfectly styled silver hair and an expression of absolute horror. Paige recognized her immediately. Catherine Calloway. Trevor's mother. Catherine pushed past the other guests and walked straight to where the boys stood. She knelt down in front of them, her expensive dress pooling on the floor. She studied their faces, her eyes moving from Owen to Lucas to Felix and back again. "Oh my God." Catherine's voice shook. "You have your father's eyes, and your grandfather's chin." She looked up at Trevor, and the betrayal on her face was devastating. "You have sons? I have grandsons? And you never told me? Mom, I did not know they were real." Trevor's voice was desperate now. "I swear, I thought she was lying." "Lying about what? Being pregnant?" Catherine stood up, her voice rising. "You thought a woman you were married to for 7 years was lying about carrying your children? We were already divorced. She was upset. She was trying to get back at me. By having 3 babies?" Catherine's laugh was bitter. "By raising triplets alone for 6 years as revenge? Does that make any sense to you, Trevor?" A man joined Catherine now. Richard Calloway, Trevor's father. Tall, distinguished, with the same brown eyes as Trevor and the boys. He looked at the triplets with an expression of wonder and grief. "Triplets," Richard said quietly. "Good Lord, Trevor, you have triplets." The officiant finally found her voice. "I think," she cleared her throat, "I think perhaps we should pause this ceremony." "You think?" Felicity's voice was sharp, almost hysterical. She turned on Trevor, and all the hurt was pouring out now. You stood there and told all these people I was giving you your dream of fatherhood. You looked me in the eyes and told me about your heartbreak over not having children. How many times did I comfort you? How many nights did you cry about your failed marriage and your infertile wife and your broken dreams? Felicity, please. You have children. Her voice broke on the word. You have always had them. 3 beautiful boys, and you just pretended they did not exist. I did not know. Yes, you did, Catherine said coldly. Maybe not at first, but Paige told you. She tried to tell you, and you chose not to believe her because it was easier, because acknowledging them would have complicated your new life. Trevor looked around the room wildly, searching for support, for someone who might believe him. But his groomsmen were stepping away. His business partners were staring at him with disgust. His family was looking at him like they did not recognize him. The guests who had been defending him moments earlier were silent now, because the evidence was standing right there in front of them. 3 identical 6-year-old boys with Trevor's face, holding a pillow with wedding rings, calling him Dad. Felicity pulled off her engagement ring. The enormous diamond caught the light as she held it up. For a moment, she just looked at it. Then she threw it as hard as she could at Trevor's chest. It bounced off his tuxedo and clattered to the floor. You are a liar, she screamed. You are a coward and a liar, and I never want to see you again. She turned and ran. Not walked, ran, her wedding dress trailing behind her, her veil coming loose. Her bridesmaids rushed after her, their champagne-colored dresses streaming behind them like a current. The side door slammed shut behind them with a sound that echoed through the silent room. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then a woman stepped forward from the 3rd row. Patricia Walsh, Felicity's mother. She looked at Trevor with pure contempt. You are a disgusting human being, she said quietly. You abandoned 3 innocent children. You lied to my daughter. You lied to everyone here. Stay away from Felicity. If you try to contact her, I will make sure everyone in Boston knows exactly what kind of man you really are. She walked out. Felicity's father followed without a word, just a single devastating look of disappointment at Trevor before he disappeared through the doors. Then the exodus began. Trevor's business partners started standing. One by one, they gathered their things and headed for the exits. A man in his 50s stopped at the altar, looking at Trevor with cold anger. This is very bad for the company, Mark, Thomas Green said. We will need to have a serious conversation on Monday about your future with the firm. He left. More followed. Friends, colleagues, people who had come to celebrate what they thought was a new beginning for a good man who had suffered. Now they could not get out fast enough. Robert Chen, Trevor's best man and business partner, stood beside Trevor looking stunned. He stared at the 3 boys, then at Trevor. Why did you lie about this? Robert asked quietly. Why did you tell everyone Sarah could not have children when you had 3 sons? Trevor tried to answer, but Robert held up his hand. I do not want to hear it. Robert's voice was flat. I cannot be friends with someone who abandons their own children. We are done, Mark. Our friendship is over. Our business partnership is over. I will have my lawyer contact you about dissolving our agreement. He walked away without looking back. More guests followed. Some stopped to speak to Paige, offering quiet apologies or words of support. Others left quickly, uncomfortable, not wanting to be associated with the scandal. Within 10 minutes, the room had emptied by more than half, but Catherine and Richard had not moved. They stood near the boys, and Catherine was crying silently, tears tracking through her makeup. She knelt down again, looking at Owen, Lucas, and Felix with an expression of such love and regret that it made Paige's throat tight. May I hug you? Catherine asked them gently. Owen looked up at Paige. She nodded. Catherine pulled all 3 boys into her arms, holding them like they were precious, like they were wanted. When she pulled back, she was smiling through her tears. I am your grandmother, she told them, and I am so happy you exist. Richard knelt down too, his weathered face showing wonder. You 3 are miracles, he said softly, and I am so sorry we did not know about you until now. Felix, always the boldest, spoke up. Are you really our grandpa? I really am. Do you know how to fish? Grandpa Richard said he would teach us to fish. The words tumbled out before Felix realized he was talking about a fantasy conversation that had never happened. But Richard smiled. I do know how to fish, and I would love to teach you. Lucas spoke up next, his voice quiet. Do we have cousins? You do. Richard said, you have 3 cousins, Daniel, Emma, and Sophie. They are going to be so excited to meet you. Owen, the most cautious, asked the hardest question. Why did our dad not want us? Catherine's face crumpled. Oh, sweetheart, that was not about you. That was never about you. Your father made a terrible choice, a cowardly choice. But that does not mean you are not valuable. That does not mean you are not loved. Your grandmother and I want to be part of your lives, if your mother will allow it. She looked up at Paige, her eyes pleading. Paige, I am so deeply sorry. For every dinner where we pitied Trevor. For every time we spoke about his loss without knowing you were raising his children alone. For not questioning, not reaching out, not knowing. Can you ever forgive us? Paige felt tears burning her eyes. You did not know. He made sure of that. We should have known. Catherine stood, still crying. We should have asked more questions. We should have tried to contact you after the divorce. We believed him. God help us. We believed every word. Richard stood too, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. Trevor flinched. I am ashamed of you, Richard said quietly. More ashamed than I have ever been. You are not the man I thought I raised. Dad, please. You have 3 sons, 3 beautiful, innocent boys, and you looked at them and walked away. Richard's voice was thick with emotion. I do not know how to reconcile that with the son I thought I knew. Trevor was crying now, tears and sweat mingling on his face. He looked broken, lost, like the ground had opened beneath him, and he was falling. But Paige felt no satisfaction in his pain, no victory, just exhaustion and relief that the truth was finally out. Catherine turned to address the remaining guests. About 100 people still filled the room, some seated, some standing, all watching the scene unfold like they were witnessing a car crash. I do not know all of you. Catherine's voice rang out clear and commanding. But many of you are my friends and family. You have heard my son's version of his first marriage for years. We all believed him. We all offered him sympathy. She paused. We were all fooled. She turned to Paige. I am so deeply sorry for the years you spent alone, for raising these boys without help, for being erased from Trevor's story. If you will allow it, I would like to be part of their lives now. Better late than never. They are your grandchildren, Paige said quietly. Of course you can be part of their lives. Catherine hugged her then, a fierce embrace that smelled like expensive perfume and felt like absolution. When she pulled back, Felicity was standing in the doorway. She had taken off her veil. Her makeup was ruined from crying, but she had composed herself, pulled together some core of strength. She walked back into the room, her wedding dress rustling, and addressed the remaining guests. I want everyone to know something. Felicity's voice was steady despite the tears still wet on her cheeks. I did not know about this, any of this. I was lied to as completely as all of you. She looked at Paige. I am sorry for what he did to you. I am sorry you had to come here and expose this just to be believed. I am sorry your wedding was destroyed, Paige said sincerely. It was not a real wedding anyway. It was built on lies. Felicity took a breath. But I want to do something, if you will allow it. What? Felicity walked to where the wedding coordinator stood frozen in shock by the side wall. After a brief whispered conversation, she returned to Paige. This reception is paid for. The plaza, the food, the cake, the music, all of it. I am not staying, but these people. She gestured to the remaining guests. They came here expecting a celebration, and I think they should get one. She knelt down to Owen, Lucas, and Felix. Boys, today is a special day. Not because of a wedding, but because you got to meet your grandmother and grandfather. Because your mom is the bravest person here. Would you like to stay and have cake and dance with your family? Felix's eyes went wide. There is cake? Despite everything, several people laughed. The tension broke slightly. Yes, there is cake. Felicity smiled through her tears. Lots of cake. She stood and faced Trevor one last time. Do not contact me. Do not try to explain. I will have my lawyer send papers for all the deposits and expenses I want returned. She paused. And Trevor? I hope someday you realize what you lost. Not me. Them. She walked down the aisle alone, her head high, her wedding dress trailing behind her. The door closed quietly behind her. Catherine took charge immediately. "Well," she said briskly, wiping her eyes, "my daughter-in-law is right. We have food and music and 3 beautiful children who deserve celebrating. Trevor, you need to leave." "Mom, now. Trevor looked around the room one more time, at his parents' disgusted faces, at his former friends turning away, at his business partners already planning how to cut ties with him, at Paige standing protective over the sons he had denied. His shoulders sagged. Without another word, he walked toward the side exit. Every step was visible defeat. The door closed behind him with a soft click. An uncertain murmur filled the space. The remaining guests looked at each other, unsure what to do. Stay? Leave? Pretend none of this happened? Catherine raised her voice again. "Please, anyone who would like to stay and help us celebrate my grandsons, our family's newest and most wonderful members, you are welcome to join us. Anyone who would prefer to leave, we understand completely." About 20 more people departed, but the rest, maybe 80 guests, stayed. Many of them were Trevor's extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins who had just discovered 3 new family members. They approached Paige and the boys with wonder and tearful apologies. Trevor's Aunt Margaret was crying openly. "We had no idea. God, Paige, we had no idea." His cousin Daniel knelt down and shook each boy's hands solemnly. "I am your cousin. I have 2 kids about your age. They are going to love meeting you. We are going to be so excited to share this story. So if you are loving it so far, hit that share button and send this to someone who needs to hear about truth and courage. And comment below, what would you do in Paige's position? Would you have gone to that wedding or handled it differently? I want to know what you think." The wedding coordinator, a professional woman in her 40s who had probably seen everything, pivoted beautifully. She spoke quietly with the catering staff, the DJ, the various vendors. Within 15 minutes, the formal wedding reception had been transformed into something else entirely. An impromptu family celebration. The seating chart was abandoned. People sat wherever they wanted. Children who had come for the wedding gravitated toward Owen, Lucas, and Felix, curious about these new cousins who had appeared so dramatically. The caterers brought out food, elegant appetizers, tiny sandwiches, fruits and cheeses, things the boys had never tasted before. Felix tried caviar and immediately made a face that had nearby adults laughing. Lucas carefully constructed a perfect tiny sandwich, concentrating seriously. Owen tried everything once, methodical and brave. Catherine and Richard stayed close to the boys, introducing them to relatives with gentleness and patience. "This is your great-aunt Susan. She lives in Vermont and makes the best maple syrup. This is your second cousin twice removed, Marcus. He is a firefighter. This is your Uncle James, your dad's brother. He has been traveling in Europe, but he is moving back to Boston next month." Each introduction came with apologies, with expressions of joy at meeting them, with promises to make up for lost time. Paige stood slightly apart, watching. Her heart was still racing. Her hands were still shaking. But something in her chest had loosened. A weight she had been carrying for 6 years had lifted. Raina appeared at her elbow, having watched everything from the back of the room. "You did it," Raina said quietly. "I did it. How do you feel?" Paige thought about it. Terrified, relieved, exhausted. "Free." Raina hugged her. "I am so proud of you." A photographer approached. Not the wedding photographer who had packed up and left with Felicity, but a woman in her 30s with kind eyes and a professional camera. "Hi, I am Lisa Kim. I was hired to photograph the wedding. Obviously that is not happening anymore, but if you would like, I would love to take some photos of your sons with their grandparents. No charge. This is..." She gestured around the transformed reception. "This is something special. I would like to document it for you." Paige nodded, too emotional to speak. Lisa spent the next hour photographing the boys with Catherine and Richard, with their newly met cousins, with the extended family they had never known existed. She captured Felix's frosting-covered smile when they brought out the wedding cake. She caught Lucas carefully sharing his plate with a little girl who became his instant friend. She photographed Owen's serious concentration as he listened to his grandfather talk about fishing. As the afternoon wore into evening, the DJ started playing music. Children-friendly songs at first. The kids danced in the center of the room, the boys laughing and spinning with cousins they had met 2 hours ago. Paige sat at a table with Catherine and Richard. The three of them watched the children play. "I need to ask you something difficult," Richard said. Paige braced herself. "Okay, those 6 years raising them alone, how did you manage financially?" Paige's laugh was hollow. "Barely. I worked 2 jobs for most of it. Sometimes 3. We lived in a shelter for 5 months when I lost my waitressing position. It was very hard." Richard's jaw tightened. "Trevor will pay child support. Back support for every month he should have been helping. I will personally insure it. I hired a lawyer. We are filing on Monday." "Good." Richard paused. "But beyond legal obligations, Paige, those boys are my grandsons. Catherine and I would like to help. We would like to be in their lives, if you will allow it. They deserve to know their grandparents, and we deserve to know them." Catherine added, "We have missed 6 years. We cannot get that back, but we would like to be there for everything going forward. Birthdays, holidays, school events, everything. I would like that too," Paige said. Catherine pulled out her phone. "Can I get your number? I would like to text you later this week. Maybe we could arrange a dinner. Something small, just us and the boys, so we can start getting to know each other properly." Paige gave her the number. They exchanged a few more words, promises to stay in touch, agreements to talk soon. Then Catherine and Richard excused themselves to mingle with other family members, making sure everyone knew how to contact Paige, ensuring the boys would have connections beyond just their grandparents. As the sun began to set, casting golden light through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Paige found herself alone for a moment. She stood by the windows, looking out at Central Park, processing everything that had happened. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. "Hello? Ms. Brennan? This is Patricia Yoon." "Hi, Patricia. I have been watching the news." The lawyer's voice was excited. "Someone posted video of what happened at the wedding. It is everywhere. Paige, you are trending on Twitter. Oh God. This is good. This is very good for your case. Trevor cannot deny anything now. I have already received a call from his attorney. They want to negotiate a settlement immediately." "What kind of settlement?" "Full back child support. Ongoing monthly payments. They want to avoid court. They want to make this go away as quietly as possible now. What do you recommend?" "I recommend we negotiate hard. You have all the leverage now. He will pay what we ask." Paige closed her eyes. "Okay, do whatever you think is best. Call me Monday morning. We will go over everything. But Paige, congratulations. You won." After she hung up, Paige just stood there for a moment. Won. Had she won? It did not feel like winning. It felt like finally being able to breathe after holding her breath for 6 years. The boys ran up to her, their faces flushed from dancing. "Mommy, Grandma Catherine wants to know if we can come to her house for dinner tomorrow." Owen said. "Can we?" Felix added. "She said they have a pool." Paige smiled. "Yes, we can go." The boys cheered and ran back to tell Catherine. As the reception wound down, guests began departing. Each one stopped to speak to Paige, to meet the boys, to offer support or apologies or congratulations. By 7 o'clock, only close family remained. Catherine suggested ordering pizza for the children, who were exhausted but too excited to leave. They sat on the floor of the terrace room, fancy suits abandoned for, shirt sleeves, eating pizza and laughing with their new cousins. Paige sat with Raina, both of them watching the scene. "This is the weirdest wedding reception I have ever attended," Raina said. "It is not even a wedding reception anymore." "No." Raina smiled. "It is better." At 8 o'clock, Catherine arranged for a car service to drive Paige and the boys back to Queens. As they said their goodbyes, Catherine hugged each boy tightly. "I will see you tomorrow for dinner," she promised them. "We are going to have so much fun." In the car, the boys were finally quiet, exhausted from the day. They leaned against each other in the back seat, Felix already half asleep. Paige sat in front, watching the city lights pass by. "Mommy?" Owen said quietly. "Are you happy about what happened today?" Paige thought about it. "Yes, baby. I am happy that people know the truth now. I am happy you got to meet your grandparents. I am happy that you do not have to be a secret anymore. Do you think Daddy will want to see us now?" "I do not know. Maybe. Maybe not." "I do not think I want to see him," Owen said. "He made you sad for a long time." Paige's throat tightened. Someday, if he changes, if he really tries to be better, maybe we can think about it. But not now. Okay. They arrived at the apartment building in Queens. The contrast was stark, from the Plaza Hotel's grandeur to their cramped walk-up. But it felt like home. It felt like safety. Paige helped the boys out of their suits and into pajamas. They were asleep within minutes, tangled together in their bunk bed like always. She stood in the doorway watching them sleep, these three miracles who had walked down an aisle and changed everything. Then she went to her own room and opened her laptop. The video was everywhere. Someone, maybe multiple someones, had live-streamed the wedding. The footage showed everything. Trevor's condescending speech about his infertile ex-wife. The three boys walking down the aisle. Owen's clear voice saying, "Dad, you left these rings at Mom's house." Felicity's devastation. Catherine's immediate embrace of the boys. Trevor's shameful exit. The video had millions of views already. It was on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. News outlets were picking it up. Boston Daily News had published an article an hour ago with the headline, "Boston, real estate executive exposed for abandoning triplet sons at his own wedding." Paige read through the comments, her heart pounding. The way his mother immediately embraced those boys. That is what family should be. Imagine being Felicity. She dodged a bullet. That woman raising triplets alone for 6 years while he lived in luxury. She is a hero. The ex-husband is trash, but his family seems lovely. Those boys are so brave. I hope they never see their deadbeat father again. Not all the comments were positive. Some people accused Paige of being vindictive, of using her children as weapons of choosing public humiliation over private resolution. But the overwhelming majority of comments supported her. Her phone started ringing. News outlets requesting interviews, morning shows wanting her story, podcasts asking her to appear. She ignored them all. She did not want fame. She did not want to become a viral sensation. She just wanted her sons to exist without shame. Paige closed the laptop and went to bed. For the first time in 6 years, she slept deeply, dreamlessly, without the weight of Trevor's lies pressing down on her chest. Sunday morning, they took the train to Catherine and Richard's house in Newton. It was a beautiful colonial-style home with a large backyard and, as promised, a pool. The boys were shy at first, overwhelmed by the size of the house, the elegance of everything. But Catherine and Richard were warm and patient, letting them explore at their own pace. They had dinner together. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, vegetables. Simple food, but made with care. The boys ate quietly, using their best manners. After dinner, Richard showed them his study, his collection of fishing lures, promised to take them to a lake soon. Catherine pulled Paige aside while the boys were distracted. "Trevor called me this morning." Paige tensed. "What did he say?" "He is attending therapy. He wants to know if he can have supervised visits with the boys eventually." "What did you tell him?" "I told him that is not my decision. It is yours." Catherine paused. "For what it is worth, I think he is genuinely devastated by what happened. I do not know if that means he is changing, or just that he is embarrassed. Time will tell. I am not ready to let him near them yet. I understand. And I told him that. He needs to prove himself over a long period of time before he earns the right to be their father." "Thank you." Catherine squeezed her hand. "You are an extraordinary mother, Paige. Those boys are lucky to have you." Over the next few weeks, Paige's life transformed. Patricia Yoon negotiated a settlement with Trevor's lawyers, $220,000 in back child support, paid in a lump sum, $4,500 per month in ongoing support. The money hit Paige's account on a Tuesday morning, and she sat at her kitchen table staring at the balance, unable to believe it was real. She immediately started looking for a new apartment. Something bigger. Somewhere the boys could each have their own room. She found a 3-bedroom place in Brooklyn, in a safe neighborhood with good schools. The rent was manageable now. She signed the lease that same week. She also quit her second job. With the child support, she only needed to work her graphic design position. She could work from home 3 days a week now. She could pick the boys up from school. She could be present in a way she never could before. The boys started at a new school in Brooklyn. Lincoln Elementary had a music program, an art program, a library. Owen joined the chess club. Lucas started taking art classes. Felix joined the soccer team. They had dinner with Catherine and Richard every Sunday. The boys met their cousins, their aunts and uncles, their extended family. They went to the zoo, to museums, to parks. They experienced childhood with grandparents who loved them, with cousins who accepted them, with a support system Paige had never imagined they would have. Paige also started something new, a support group for single mothers dealing with difficult co-parenting situations, or in her case, absent co-parents. She rented space at a community center in Brooklyn. 8 women came to the first meeting. They sat in a circle and shared their stories. Women who had been lied about, women who had been abandoned, women raising children alone while their exes moved on to new relationships, new families, women carrying the weight of someone else's choices. Paige told her story too. The whole thing. The marriage, the abandonment, the pregnancy, Trevor's refusal to believe, her, the 6 years of struggle, the wedding, the revelation. The women cried with her. They understood in a way few people could. By the third meeting, 15 women attended. By the second month, 25. Women supporting each other, sharing resources, offering childcare swaps, legal advice, emotional support. Paige felt like she was turning her pain into purpose, taking the worst experience of her life and using it to help others. 6 months after the wedding, Paige received a letter. It came through Patricia Yoon's office, forwarded from Trevor's therapist. Ms. Brennan, I am writing on behalf of my client, Trevor Calloway. Mr. Calloway has been attending therapy twice weekly for the past 6 months. He has also completed a parenting course and is engaged in ongoing work to understand and take accountability for his choices. He would like to request a supervised visit with his sons. He understands this is entirely your decision and will respect whatever you choose. If you are open to this, we can arrange a meeting in a neutral location with supervision. Please let me know your thoughts. Dr. Sarah Martinez, licensed therapist. Paige sat with the letter for 3 days before deciding what to do. Finally, she sat down with Owen, Lucas, and Felix. They were at the dining table in their new apartment, homework spread out in front of them. Guys, I need to talk to you about something. They looked up, immediately attentive. Your father has been going to therapy. He's trying to work on himself, trying to understand why he made the choices he made. Is he going to come see us? Felix asked. He would like to, but only if you 3 want to meet him. This is your choice. You do not have to see him if you do not want to. The boys looked at each other, that silent communication passing between them. Owen spoke first. I think I would like to meet him, just to see what he is like. Lucas nodded slowly. Me too. But I am nervous. I am nervous too, Felix admitted. But I want to know if he is sorry. Paige nodded. Okay, if you are sure, we can arrange one meeting. 1 hour, in a park, and I will be there the entire time. If at any point you want to leave, we leave. No questions asked. The meeting was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon at a park in Newton. Neutral territory. Public. Safe. Paige arrived early with the boys. They wore casual clothes, jeans and t-shirts. They held hands as they walked to the designated meeting spot, a bench near a playground. Trevor was already there. He stood when he saw them approaching. He looked different, thinner, older. His hair was graying at the temples. He wore jeans and a simple sweater, nothing like the expensive suits Paige remembered. Hi, Trevor said. His voice was tentative, uncertain. Hi, Paige replied. The boys stood close to their mother, uncertain. Trevor knelt down so he was at their eye level. Owen, Lucas, Felix, I am your father. My name is Trevor. I know I have not been there for you. I know I hurt you and your mom. I am so sorry. Why did you leave us? Owen asked directly. Trevor took a breath. Because I was scared. Being a father felt too hard, too big, too overwhelming. So I ran away. That was wrong. There is no excuse for what I did. Did you really not know we existed? Lucas asked. Trevor hesitated. Your mom told me she was pregnant. I did not want to believe her. I convinced myself she was lying because that was easier than facing the truth. When I saw you at your apartment, when you were babies, I knew you were real. But I still walked away because I was a coward. It was the first time Paige had heard him admit that. The first time he acknowledged seeing them as infants and choosing to leave anyway. Are you going to leave again? Felix asked. I do not know, Trevor said honestly. I hope not. I am trying to be better. I am trying to understand why I made such terrible choices. But I understand if you do not trust me. I have to earn that trust over a very long time. The boys were quiet. Then Owen spoke. "Can you push us on the swings?" Trevor's face broke into a smile. "Yes, I would like that very much." Paige watched from the bench as Trevor walked with her 3 sons to the playground. She watched him push them on the swings, carefully, gently. She watched him help Lucas climb the jungle gym. She watched Felix show him how fast he could run. The boys were cautious. They did not call him Dad. They kept their distance emotionally, but they were trying, giving him a chance to prove himself. After an hour, Paige called them over. "Time to go, boys." They said goodbye to Trevor politely. He knelt down again. "Thank you for letting me meet you. Can I see you again?" The boys looked at Paige. She nodded. "Maybe." Owen said, "If you keep trying, I will. I promise, I will keep trying." On the drive home, the boys were quiet. Finally, Lucas spoke. "He seems sad." "He should be sad," Paige said. "He made very bad choices. But sad is not the same as changed. We will see if he keeps showing up." "Do you think he will?" Felix asked. "I do not know, baby." Over the next months, Trevor requested monthly visits. Always supervised, always in public places. He showed up to each one. He brought nothing but himself, no expensive gifts, no attempts to buy their affection. He just spent time with them, pushed them on swings, played catch, listened to them talk about school. Paige watched carefully. She saw genuine effort, but she also saw how the boys held themselves slightly apart, protective of their hearts. They had learned young that fathers could disappear. They were not ready to trust fully. That was okay. Trust was earned slowly. One evening, 9 months after the wedding, Paige sat on her back porch. The boys were inside doing homework. Her phone buzzed with a text from Catherine. "Family barbecue this Sunday. All the cousins will be there. Can you and the boys come?" Paige smiled. "We will be there." She looked around at her life. The apartment that was finally big enough. The job that paid enough. The support system she had built. The boys thriving in school, playing sports, making friends. The extended family that had embraced them completely. Trevor's lies had tried to erase them, but the truth had given them everything. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a message from Felicity. "Hi, Paige. I know this is random, but I wanted to let you know I started a support group for women who have been deceived in relationships. Already have 20 members. Thank you for giving me the courage to turn my anger into something useful." Paige typed back, "That is wonderful. You are helping people heal. That is everything." The boys called her inside. They needed help with math homework. Paige left her phone on the porch table and went to join her sons. These 3 brave boys who walked down an aisle and told the truth. As she helped Felix with his multiplication tables and listened to Owen, read aloud and admired Lucas's drawing, Paige realized something. She was happy, genuinely, deeply happy. Not because Trevor was paying child support, though that helped. Not because his reputation was destroyed, though there was some justice in that. But because she was free, free from the weight of his lies, free from the exhaustion of hiding, free from the fear of speaking truth. She had walked into the Plaza Hotel carrying 6 years of secrets and shame. She walked out with her head high, and her sons acknowledged. The invitation had been meant to humiliate her, to showcase everything Trevor had moved on to, everything she supposedly could not provide. Instead, it became the day her sons gained a family, the day the truth burned down the lies. And sometimes, Paige thought, that is not revenge. That is resurrection. Before we wrap up, I want you to think about this story. Think about Paige's courage. Think about what it cost her to speak up. Think about how many people stay silent because speaking feels too dangerous. If this story moved you, if it made you think about truth and family and standing up for what is right, I need you to subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips. Every week, we bring you stories that matter. Stories about real courage, real choices, real people finding their strength. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who is being erased, someone protecting a liar, someone who needs permission to speak their truth. And comment below your biggest takeaway from Paige's story. What did this teach you about courage, about family, about truth? I want to hear from you. Now, let me tell you what Paige's story teaches us about life. First, about truth versus comfort. Paige chose truth over comfort every single day for 6 years. She could have stayed silent. She could have let Trevor's lies stand unchallenged. She could have protected herself by keeping her sons hidden. But she chose truth. And yes, it was terrifying. Yes, it was risky. Yes, it could have backfired spectacularly. But the truth had power that lies never could. The truth gave her sons their identity. The truth gave them family. The truth set all of them free. So many of us choose comfort over truth. We stay quiet about the harm done to us because speaking feels too hard. We protect people who hurt us because confrontation feels too scary. We live with lies because dismantling them feels too overwhelming. But Paige's story shows us that truth, even when it is hard, even when it is costly, is worth it. Because you cannot build a real life on false foundations. Eventually, the lies will collapse. Better to face the truth on your terms than to wait for it to explode on someone else's. Second, about courage in motherhood. Paige was not perfect. She struggled. She worked multiple jobs and still could barely make rent. She lived in a shelter. She said no when her kids asked for things. She was exhausted and scared most of the time. But she showed up. Every single day, she showed up for her sons. She protected them. She provided for them. She taught them their worth even when the world said they should not exist. And when the moment came to stand up publicly, to risk everything, she did it. Not for revenge, not for money, but because her children deserve to live without shame. That is real courage, not the absence of fear, not perfect strength, but showing up anyway, fighting anyway, choosing your children over your own safety. That is what heroic mothers do. They carry weights no one else sees. They make sacrifices no one acknowledges. They fight battles in silence. And when the moment comes, they stand up and say enough. My children matter. My children are real. My children deserve better. Third, about accountability. Trevor spent 6 years living a comfortable lie. He rewrote history. He painted himself as the victim. He built a new life, a new relationship, a new future, all on the foundation of denying his sons existed. And he faced no consequences, until Paige made sure he did. Some people will say what Paige did was cruel, that she should have handled it privately, that she used her children as weapons. But here is the truth. Trevor had 6 years to do the right thing privately, 6 years to acknowledge his children, 6 years to provide for them. He chose not to. He chose lies. And when you choose lies, when you harm people and face no consequences, you keep doing it. Accountability matters, not punishment. Accountability. Trevor needed to face the truth of what he did. His family needed to know. His fiancée needed to know. The people who pitied him needed to know. Because without accountability, there is no change. There is just the same harm, repeated, to new victims. Paige did not destroy Trevor's life. Trevor's choices did. She just made sure those choices finally caught up with him. Fourth, about chosen family. When the truth came out, Trevor's parents could have defended him. They could have blamed Paige. They could have demanded DNA tests and lawyers and fought every step. Instead, they chose the boys. Immediately, without hesitation, Catherine knelt down and embraced her grandsons within minutes of learning they existed. Richard apologized for not knowing. They opened their home, their hearts, their lives. That is chosen family. Family that shows up not because they have to, but because they want to. Family that chooses you even when it is complicated, even when it is messy, even when it means standing against someone they love. Owen, Lucas, and Felix lost a father who denied them, but they gained grandparents who chose them. They gained cousins, aunts, uncles, an entire extended family who welcomed them. Sometimes the family we are born into fails us, but sometimes, if we are very lucky, we find family that chooses us. And that choice, that intentional love, can heal wounds we thought were permanent. Fifth, about grace in unexpected places. Felicity could have blamed Paige. She could have screamed at her for ruining the wedding. She could have made Paige the villain in her story. Instead, she saw the truth. She recognized that she and Paige were both victims of Trevor's lies. And in her worst moment, her wedding day destroyed, her heart broken, she showed grace. She transformed the reception into a celebration for the boys. She wished them well. She walked away with her dignity intact. That is strength. Real strength. not pretending you were not hurt, not hiding your pain, but choosing grace anyway, choosing kindness, even when you have every right to be cruel. Felicity did not know those boys. They were not her responsibility, but she saw them as innocent children caught in an adult mess, and she treated them with kindness. That says everything about her character, and it reminds us that even in our worst moments, we have choices about how we respond. We can choose bitterness or grace, cruelty or kindness, revenge or release. Felicity chose well. Finally, about the power of speaking your truth. For 6 years, Paige was silent. She carried the weight of Trevor's lies alone. She let the world believe she was broken, infertile, inadequate. She protected his secrets while drowning in the consequences. But when she finally spoke, when she finally said no more, everything changed. The truth did not whisper. It roared. It spread across the internet. It reached millions of people. It sparked conversations about fathers who abandon children, about men who lie to avoid responsibility, about women who carry impossible burdens in silence. Paige's truth gave other women permission to speak their own. Women who had been lied about, women raising children alone, women protecting the reputations of men who hurt them. One woman speaking her truth created ripples that touched thousands. Your truth matters. Your story matters. The thing you were too afraid to say, the secret you were carrying, the lie you were protecting, it matters. And I know speaking feels impossible. I know the risks are real. I know you might lose people, face consequences, be called bitter or vindictive or crazy. But I also know that silence has a cost too. Silence costs your peace, your freedom, your ability to live authentically. Silence costs your children the chance to exist without shame. Silence protects the people who hurt you and leaves you carrying their weight. Maybe you cannot speak your truth as loudly as Paige did. Maybe your moment will be quieter, smaller, more private. That is okay. Truth does not have to be public to be powerful, but speak it to a friend, to a therapist, to a lawyer, to yourself in the mirror. Say the thing out loud. Name the harm. Stop protecting the lie, because you deserve to live in truth. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to exist without shame. Paige Brennan walked into the Plaza Hotel as a woman the world had forgotten. She walked out as a mother who changed the narrative. She showed her sons that truth matters more than comfort, that courage is doing the right thing even when you are terrified, that they are valuable, worthy, real, no matter who tries to erase them. And months later, sitting on her back porch in her Brooklyn apartment, watching her sons play in the small backyard, she understood something profound. Trevor's lies tried to bury her, but truth does not stay buried. It rises. It breaks through. It burns down everything built to contain it. The invitation was supposed to be his victory lap, his moment of triumph. Look at everything I have. Look at how I have moved on. Look at what you could not give me. But it became the stage for his reckoning, the moment his carefully constructed lies collapsed. The day his sons walked down the aisle and said, "We exist. We are real. You cannot erase us anymore." Some people will call that revenge, but Paige knows better. Revenge is hurting someone to make yourself feel better. Justice is making sure harm has consequences. Truth is refusing to carry someone else's lies anymore. What happened at the Plaza Hotel was not revenge. It was truth, spoken by 3 6-year-old boys in navy suits who deserved to live without shame, carried by a mother who decided enough was enough, witnessed by 200 people who finally saw through the carefully constructed facade. And that truth changed everything. It gave Owen, Lucas, and Felix their family. It gave Paige her freedom. It gave other women permission to stop protecting the men who hurt them. It reminded everyone watching that lies, no matter how carefully told, cannot stand against the simple power of truth spoken with courage. If you take nothing else from this story, take this. Your truth is your power. The thing that happened to you, the harm you carry, the lie you are protecting, it does not have to stay buried. You can speak. You can stand up. You can say no more. And yes, it will be hard. Yes, there will be consequences. Yes, people might turn against you, but there will also be freedom, peace, the ability to finally breathe without the weight of someone else's lies crushing your chest. Paige did not know how her story would end when she walked into that wedding. She did not know if her sons would be traumatized, if she would be arrested, if Trevor would find a way to destroy her anyway. She just knew she was done carrying his lies, done pretending her children did not exist, done protecting him while drowning in the consequences of his choices. And that decision, that moment of courage, changed her life, changed her sons' lives, changed the trajectory of their entire family. Truth has that power. Not the truth that is convenient, not the truth that is comfortable, the hard truth, the costly truth, the truth that burns everything down so something real can finally grow. That is the truth worth speaking. That is the truth that sets you free. Thank you for staying with Paige's story from that cream-colored invitation all the way to this new beginning. If this story moved you, if it made you think about truth and courage and family, I need you to do 3 things. First, subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips. Every week, we bring you stories that matter. Stories about real people facing impossible choices and finding their strength. Second, share this video. There is someone in your life who needs to hear Paige's story. Someone who is being erased. Someone protecting a liar. Someone who needs permission to speak their truth. Send this to them. It might change their life. Third, comment below. Tell me, what is the bravest thing you have ever done? When did you choose truth over comfort? When did you stand up when it would have been easier to stay silent? I want to hear your stories. Until next time, remember this. Your truth is your power. Your voice matters. And you deserve to exist in the world without shame, without apology, without hiding. This is Dr. Phillips, reminding you that love and twilight both come, but the dawn always follows. I will see you in the next story.